Oh, Faith, did we lose your audio?
I'm here. Hi.
There she
Welcome to
is.
season 3. Yeah, sorry. Welcome to season 3 of the Credible Broadcast. Today we are joined by Jay McHale, founder and CEO of Flow Veda, creating all-natural nootropics to support mental clarity and sustainable well-being. And of course, we have Brian Fitzpatrick, chairman and CEO of Credible, driving innovation at the intersection of finance, compliance, and technology.
Absolutely. Well, welcome, Jay. I've really been looking forward to this episode.
Thanks, Brian and Faith. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Looking forward
great.
to it as well.
Great to have you. So, you've got a great story, and I really love our listeners to hear about your story because, I'm a mission-driven CEO, which really means whatever's happened to us in the past really forms our vision and mission for the future because there's specific things we want to solve personally and professionally. And you are a mission-driven CEO and doing some great things with this brand. And I'm proud to say I'm even using your brand. So, and it's really helped in many, many ways. So talk to us about your personal journey and your professional journey and how that all came together for a big change in life for you.
Sure, absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity. Well, I guess I grew up kind of in a poor middle class, making it by type family, and worked hard for everything that we got, and kind of had a chip on my shoulder growing up, and always needed to prove myself, and kind of fell into the trap of becoming like a people pleaser, thinking that I had to go above and beyond for people to remember me and appreciate me and provide accolades to me. And I never really realized it until I got much older. I got into finance. I started my first business in 2000, right at the dot-com bust. It was a startup for touchscreens at tables and restaurants and hotels, but it was very much a marketing, branding, but technology company. And I cut my teeth running around the country for the next 6 years trying to raise money in what had to be one of the ugliest capital markets that existed for a company like that. And so I raised little chunks of 100,000, 250,000 here and there, just to keep the business alive, and learned a lot about entrepreneurship. You really don't learn it until you put your feet to the fire. And when you're trying to manage developers and business partners and vendors across a range of areas that you may not have expertise in, it's very challenging, especially if you don't have a focus on what you're trying to accomplish. And I created basically a job for raising money when I thought I was trying to create a product that I was passionate about. So we were able to exit out of that in 2008. It was not the result I was hoping for, but we did. Company was called eTab and still exists today. It's one of many companies in that space. And when I left that business, I kind of returned to my financial roots. I was doing business valuations for privately held companies, and so it's very much in the capital formation space. I started my own investment bank in 2011, and for 10 years was basically helping other people raise money, where I realized the struggles and the hardships existed. And so I was, again, agnostic to the industry. I did a lot of different stuff, from commercial real estate to Hollywood films to digital media, you name it. If it was challenging, I got into it. And the wins were few, but large, and in that space. And I kept constantly trying to work hard to please others. And if people didn't like what I was doing, I tried harder. And so I had a nice closing. I went to visit some friends in Switzerland. It was a 3-week trip, kind of a detox from working so hard. And on the second to last day there skiing, I went off a half pipe with skis and landed flat on a surface and broke 3 vertebrae and mangled my wrist.
Oh.
And it was an eye opener when I kind of talked my way out of the hospital. And 2 days later, I found myself dragging bags through airports and getting back to the States. And I was still in a little bit of denial. I had surgery on my wrist 2 weeks later, but between that time and when I landed, I actually went back and drove 4 hours and got my chartered alternative investment analyst designation, sat through a 5-hour test with pain pills. And so I was just go, 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 work hard, play hard. That's what I believed in, and that was my identity. And so after the surgery, the doctor basically said, you are going to be on your back for a year and don't try to do anything. So right there, everything kind of crashed. I think reality set in. I realized that everything that I had associated with myself, my identity, my ego, what I thought life was all about was basically just shut down. And it didn't take me very long to figure out that just through reflection, introspection, that was no accident that happened on that mountain. My true self was kind of crying out and had done so in the past. And it basically forced me to kind of sit down and reevaluate who I was and what life was all about. And so I had no choice but to sit down and read. That was kind of what else you're going to do when you're on the couch for a year and told not to do anything. So I got my Amazon account working, and I was buying books on neuroscience, psychology. I really was just digging into anything I could think of that would help me explain what I did. But it was just this kind of crazy realization that kind of just washed over me. And the more I got into it, the more I realized that the life that I was living, even right back to childhood, everything that I believed, my belief system was based on things that I had to accept at that age to kind of mentally survive. Just as our brains operate in a way to take shortcuts so that we can basically evolve and learn more things quicker. I had come to create a belief system that just it was my own and it wasn't true. So that was mind blowing. And then I had a physical therapist came in a couple months later, and as we were working through some things, they asked me to breathe into the muscle. And I thought, I breathe into my lungs. I don't know what about you, but kind of opened my mind, and I'm like, I got to figure out what this is all about. So I ordered books on breathing and learned what he was talking about, and it associated very well with neuroscience. And 2 weeks later, he was in there, and I said, hey, watch this. So I breathed into my muscle, and it released, and he's like, you're done. So 3 months before I was supposed to be off physical therapy, he basically said, you're free to go. And that kind of blew my mind as well. So I started reading books on yoga and breath. And 2 years later, I became a 500-hour yoga instructor. So that's my long, windy road of going from hardcore work hard, play hard investment banker to teaching 3 classes of yoga and totally diving into a totally different world. But really the travels since then, the 10 years that I've had have really defined what Flow Veda is and the mission of the business.
Wow, it's an amazing story. One of the things that I can tell you is as I've gotten older, I've had one of those aha moments. It didn't take a ski accident, thank God, but I had this aha moment in 2017 and I literally said to myself, "What am I doing?" So our literally the guy, I didn't realize I said it out loud. The guy next to me in first class said, "I think you're flying to Dallas with the rest of us," and it was literally that was my moment because I was on that same roller coaster, right? That same, just constantly on airplanes and doing that. So I totally relate to your story, particularly about being a people pleaser and letting your ego get in the way. And I call those blinders and blind spots. And when you start to open your eyes to these blind spots, it's amazing. And I can see how that's happened in creating such a brand mission for you, because your brand mission really is to empower individuals to break free from that autopilot living and that stress through rumination and limiting beliefs and fostering presence and wellness. Talk to me about that and about how you came to find what that means and how that translates into your products and the ingredients of your products, and how you back that mission with tactical product execution.
Absolutely. Well, before the accident, I was not present for sure. I would be the furthest a person away from a yoga mat or or meditating or cultivating presence. It was something that was very foreign to me and kind of seemed like a waste of time. So now looking back on it post accident and with all the opportunity I gave myself to experiment and learn with with breath and meditation and yoga, that basically there's, I would say, a majority of us, quite a bit. I mean, if you look at Eckhart Tolle, he might say 70 to 90% of the world population is running on autopilot, and it's really not any of our faults. I don't think it's something that we chose. It's something that every individual has its own blend of I guess beliefs that they've been brought up to believe, whether they're true or not, and it shapes how they live their life. And so the ability, just the experience of being able to take a step back and cultivate some presence, and it's not there every day or every moment. You have to remind yourself and keep working at it. But it's such a gift, and really, when things really start clicking, it's almost like life. You're just floating, and everything around you, you just you sense it, you see it, you experience it in such a different way. And it was something that I felt like everybody should have this opportunity. Everybody, no matter where they're from or where they are today, can do this, and they don't have to jump off a cliff to figure it out. So it was kind of my mission to take my business planning, analytical, background and kind of turn it inside and look at how do I develop a life plan for people that is something that can resonate across culture, across experience, across uh, professions or skill sets or interests. And it's very much based on hatha yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. There's a system with the yamas, the niyamas. People usually think of asana, which is the movement to yoga, but there's also silence and breath and meditation and so on. So I basically that was a nice structure for me to work from. But ultimately, I realized that my former self was not going to just sit down and meditate. So I thought, okay, well, how could I have silenced my mind or helped silence my mind? And Ayurveda was part of what we learned. Ayurvedic principles, which is really looking at the entire ecosystem, like the whole system, the root causes of how things occur. And I had studied a lot of the herbs. I tested them. When I finally started to get serious about this business, I did some serious canvassing of everything that was out there and their impacts. I was taking ashwagandha and lion's mane prior, which are 2 staples in Flow Veda. And so it was really just a lot of research, both taking modern clinical research, which it's out there for all of these ingredients over the last 50 or 60 years, and combining it with what's been known for 5,000 years, although it may be anecdotal. I can only say through my own experience that those anecdotal Ayurvedic principles are much more, I believe them much stronger than just the small sample of 50 or 60 years of clinical research on these ingredients. But the combination of modern science and that Ayurvedic background is really powerful. And so I came up with this blend to help people basically find meditation in a bottle, which is not what this is. I want to be very clear that you can't have meditation in a capsule, but that was the kind of the goal, was how do you slow things down? How do you help people like weed out the distractions and the noise and develop focus? And so this is just a stepping stone. And my hope with this brand is to help provide some tools and a path for people to kind of find their own way for in their life and achieve what they want to achieve, but by getting off of that autopilot, that gerbil wheel that we all start off on.
Yeah, so it's a resource as well, right? So this is, being able to have a product like this and incorporate it into your wellness regimen. It's not the only thing, is what you're saying. It's really about mindfulness. It's really about, being able to change those things. I mean, look, we live with this constant cell phone thing, just in between my phone and my watch and bells and whistles going off. And, I was so embedded in those things. I mean, literally, like I was so attuned to those things. And I had to really retrain my own mind to be present, because I ended up having to, part of my aha moment was apologizing to my wife and to my family and saying, I've either been occupied or preoccupied the entire time you've known me. And it was this saying that I need to be more mindful. I need to be more present. And that wasn't just a state of mind, but what I have found through some of these things, and particularly with, this pretty incredible blend that I've been using here, um, it aids in that mindfulness, right? And that's what I really found, is that these are important things to create that clear thinking, right? To help aid that clear thinking, right? It's not just the only thing, but you're talking about something, this plant-based healing, and this, this Ayurveda, if I said that correctly, is, I mean, that's 3,000 years old, and, from India, right? I mean, this is where I believe you and I talked about, where I really believe this Eastern medicine is really making the connection to Western medicine, to say, hey, we stay so focused on solving a problem through pharma. I mean, we should really start thinking about what are the root causes that cause us to get sick, to get on these things. Let's start addressing that. And that does start with the mind. It starts with the thinking and your wellness approach to what you're eating, and then the supplements that and the things that you're putting in your body. I mean, it sounds like all of that came together for you to create not just the magic in the bottle, but also changing of the life and the mind and the thinking.
Absolutely. I mean, changed my life. And I think when you think about what you put in your body, when we're younger, it almost doesn't seem to matter because we don't notice it.
Right.
But as you get older, you start to realize what you're putting in your body starts to affect you in certain ways. And so one of the issues that I found, I didn't look to start this business right away. I was actually looking at the nootropic space. A lot of companies had, I think there was a movie called Limitless that came out 15 years ago, and that really, I think, accelerated the nootropic space. And it was really about becoming smarter, which was kind of a silly concept to me, as far as a pill making you smarter. And it evolved a little bit to memory and recall, and everybody kind of has their own little niche within it. And I think it's evolved to some degree towards flow and flow states, which I think is a good natural place to go. But the problem I found was a lot of these companies had either proprietary blends, so you really didn't know what was in there. A lot of them have caffeine extracts that are just that's the product, or it's very foreign product. It's you just has nothing to really support it other than its own research. And so for me, I was like, a lot of these products provided some sort of stimulus or feeling within like 30 minutes or 2 hours, and that just isn't natural to me. So I built Flow Veda probably to my own detriment in a way that would be very natural, but the benefits would build up. And when you look at Ayurvedic herbs, it takes time to build in the system. So we offered our starter kit for 2 months, a 2 month supply, for the very reason that even myself, when I was even nervous when I first came up with the product and was taking it myself, it took me 3.5 weeks to really start to feel something. For others, it can happen much sooner. Um, and for others, it could take 5 weeks. So the I wanted to make sure that people had the opportunity to feel the effects. So we gave a money back guarantee. It's not going to work for everybody. I'm not going to guarantee that. I think we've probably had 2 people reach out to us and just said it either it didn't work, or they were sensitive to one of our ingredients. But we've had so many others that are almost surprised by the results and have become members. And it's been great to hear their stories. And so the hope is that, I'd like for this to eventually become a member movement beyond just the capsules, but also with sharing ways that people can create mindfulness and presence, and at some point learn how to detach from our past and kind of rediscover who we really are. And then I'm very much into systems. I've built systems and businesses, and I like to start like atomic habits from the start at the end and work your way back. So
Mhm.
for me, everything's about purpose and mission, surrounded by values, framed by your goals, and just walking things back to the point where you are today. And you can create a kind of a stepping stone towards the life that you want to live if you are very clear and set the right intentions, and all of a sudden start to live that purpose. So to me, the goal is to kind of become that autotelic individual where the journey and the purpose become one, and you start to really enjoy every moment, because that's what you're actually setting out to do. And so it's kind of be the best version of yourself every day until you are, and then enjoy it and live it. But keep reminding yourself that every day is different, and if you fall off the horse, get right back up.
Amen. And I'll tell you, one of the key things that I've noticed, now obviously I'm in this industry, you're in this industry because there's a need for it, and we're seeing significant growth in this industry. And whenever we see growth like this, we see the good, we see the bad, and we see the ugly. And in this particular, I mean, I've had the distinct pleasure of meeting folks like you and other folks we've been recently interviewing that are really focused on transparency. They're really focused on quality. I mean, the ethical standards are important to them, right? And it's also important to consumers. But here's the thing: a lot of consumers are getting duped with garbage out there,
Yeah.
right? They're taking pills that are nothing but vegetable oil or, carrier oils that don't have what they claim to have them in the label. And I've seen, particularly in the CBD and hemp space, and I've seen carried over into this space, fraudulent lab reports. I've seen claims being made that are absolutely ridiculous, like, cures COVID and all these other things and crazy stuff. And I'll tell you, this just hurts the space.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, and the space is getting more. I mean, you can't even go on, like, if you're like me and look for these types of products, then your Facebook feed is filled with everybody selling these products, right? And consumers are confused. They don't know who to trust. So the key thing is, everybody comes to me and they say, "Hey, well, what are you taking? Like, you look into these things, you actually do research. Your company does the research. Your company does the validation." And, I'm feeling like I'm the guy now that unofficially they're calling to say, "Okay, who can I trust?" But that's what Credible's all about. But I'm seeing, it gets challenging in a crowded space. So how do you, as one of those companies that holds high ethical standards and really believes in the science and believes in vetting and verifying the supply chain and making sure that you're meeting the commitments of your customers, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you show quality? How do you show transparency?
Great question. I had to prove it to myself first, because if you don't believe in your own product and your own company, then nobody else is. So
Mhm.
that was first, and that's not an easy thing to do when I'm a very analytical person, and very harsh, I think, as far as my critiques of certain things. So I had to prove it to myself. So I did it the only way I knew how. And I probably suffered a little bit from a marketing perspective because I believe in transparency and information. So I originally and still to this day have sections of my website built out with all the research that we have on each of the ingredients. We have a web page called Flow Source, which basically shows you, you can look on your QR code exactly where each of your ingredients came from, with a little plane flying over to our manufacturing site when it was tested. You have access to our COAs. I have a summary of the COAs because some of them they're all very different in their style, but we've summarized each of the COAs, and so certificates of authenticity. And we've when I first got started, I started with a smaller manufacturer and very quickly moved to the biggest manufacturer, VitaQuest, here in States in New Jersey, who does relentless testing on everything. And then through time, I built this business to fail quickly with various vendors until I found not only the right people, but the best people. So we have the best distributor in this Moby Deck third-party logistics in Ohio. And we're using top quality ingredients. So I'm paying probably 6 or 7 times as much for my ashwagandha to be from KSM 66, which is known throughout the industry to be the highest quality ashwagandha. Everybody, I'm very particular about, and to my manufacturer's never happy talking to me when they have to pick up the phone, because I'm always constantly hammering them on, where's our source, where's our COAs. But they do a great job of their own testing. So we test our product several times throughout the whole supply chain, and we try to trace it from source or farm right through supplier, manufacturer, 3PL. So the capsule that shows up at your house, you can see it on a QR scan from source to mouth where our product came from.
That's
and
fantastic.
that to me is like the best I can do. And outside of working with you guys in the future, which we can talk about after the show, but I think transparency and integrity, I learned just in the investment banking world, where trust is few and far between. You only have good, reliable partners if you can demonstrate integrity. And so I try to do that in everything that we do here at Flow Veda.
Absolutely. And I've been very impressed with your website. I've been very impressed with what's up there. You're pushing the envelope on a positive side on transparency. So kudos to you and the team, because even though you're not, certified credible at this point, I did my own research because I was looking for these products. And I just happened to, when I was looking for it, I said, okay, we need to try this out because I know you were coming up on the show. Again, you're, like you were saying, it doesn't happen right away, but you start to see little changes in your mental acuity and clarity. And me putting in lots of hours every day, I need all the help I can get. So kudos to you and the team. Your team's been great to work with, even preparing for the show, and I'm a fan of your product. So why don't you share with our listeners how they can learn more about your product and actually see that transparency and learn and potentially get some for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. You can always visit us at www.flowveda.com, FLOWVEDA. And we share as much information as we can on there. Explore the site. That's generally the best place. We're at Flow Veda and on our Facebook page, Live Flow Veda for Instagram. I have a personal X account, McHale in Flow, that you can always see some of my kind of off the wall comments about helping mindfulness but you can always check us out there, and we're constantly trying to update our content and provide more information. And in the future, we're going to provide some tools for people to help them wherever they're at, to kind of get off that autopilot and start living the life they want to live.
I love it, Jay. Thank you so much for joining the show today. I can talk to you for hours because there's a lot of parallels there, and we got to hang out. Seriously, I love everything you've said, and I'm always listen. Every day's an improvement to me. I always say when I wake up, I got to learn something new, and I got to become a better version of myself for the people around me, and you can only do that by really being honest and being mindful. And recognizing, the blinders that we grow up wearing, that we should take these off and realize who we are and see ourselves as others do, and realize how we can be better to all those around us. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you to your team. And Faith, tell us who we have coming up on the show next.
So next week we have Doug Fisher, General Counsel at Active and President of Eat Safer.
Excellent. Another great, credible broadcast today. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We will see you next week. And thanks again, Jay, and to his amazing team. Check out their products. You're going to love them.
Thanks, Brian and Faith. Take care.
Thank you.